My last video was about testing, and I'm going to do this video about writing testable code. Here's a program, one of your typical guess my number games. You have to guess a number between 1 and 10 that's randomly chosen. So if I go 5, it's too high, 3, it's too high, 2 was correct, turns out. If I want to test this program, I have to do exactly what I just did. I have to run it and keep playing it and putting into it. It's very interactive, which is not very efficient. So let's just change it around a bit so it's a bit more testable. What I'm going to do is I've looked at it and I've decided that this section in here can be broken out into a separate function. So I'm going to call it basically this whole section just processes the guess that the user has made. So function process guess, and I'm going to take all of this lot for now, and I'm going to put it in here, and then I'll need to call the function. And that will work exactly the same. It hasn't actually really made any progress yet though. The problem is that I can't call this function separately and have it just work independently. It's going to ask me every single time for an input. So I'm going to actually take that and put it back into the main program. And it's a bit better now. I still have a further issue though, that this function is touching these global variables, usernum and compnum, which means in order to call this function and check that it's working, I need to kind of set these up, and it's not a good way of doing things. So instead, what I'm going to do is what we should aim to do with functions anyway, is pass these values as parameters. So I'm going to say, when we call this function, we're going to give it the answer that the user typed in. Actually, I'm going to say we're going to give it the guess that the user typed in. We're going to give it the answer that is the correct answer. And then as we go down here, we're going to be checking guess against answer each time. Typing, refactoring often involves a little bit of typing. So I need to, when I call the function, I need to give it the user number and the computer number, and they're going to be passed through as guess and answer. That should work just the same. We're just checking. I guess my number 5, too low, 8, too low, 9, too low. Hopefully it was 10 then. Okay. I haven't really checked it thoroughly yet, but that'll do for now. I can now write some tests. So up here, I'm going to call that process guess function, and I'm going to give it some values. I'm going to say the user has guessed 3, and the correct answer is 5. And I'll also add a comment, say expected to see an alert of that my practice is too low. Try that. Too low. And I'll do it as well. So I can write some more tests up here now if I want to, but for valid, invalid, boundary and so on. I'm still not really quite there. One thing that I don't like is that this function does more than one thing. So it does these alert messages, but it also touches this guesses variable, global variable again. And I'm not testing that. So I'm actually going to take that out and put it back into this function. So then I've got this function that's pretty much only doing one thing. And I also don't like the alerts coming up. That's just not as testable as it might be. So what I'm going to do is get it to return some values, these values instead. So return, and then of course I'll need to do something with them. So instead of just saying process guess, I'm going to say alert, the result of that function call. And up here, when I do the process guess function. I'm going to do something with that return value again. So I'm going to say output it to the console. So if I run this program now, it should just work. See, shall we? Guess my number 5, too low, 8, correct. And if I F12, I've got my test has appeared here from the expected too low, so I can do that. It's not perfect. There's still quite a lot of untested code going on here. And if this is a more complex game, we might choose to break some of this functionality out into another function, perhaps one that did the game actions or something like that. But at least this code here is testable, and I can write some nice automated testing.